A few days later, Yuffie went to a place where she always studied to be the best future queen. Yuffie had also moved her belongings from this room to Anna's royal villa. Yuffie looks sad that she has to hand over the key royal library to the king of Palethia, orphans or Anna's father. Weeks later, Yuffie woke up out of breath. She always had nightmares after the party that night. Even Yuffie often forgets that she now lives in Anna's villa. Not long after, Ilya knocked on the door to serve Yuffie as usual. At first, Yuffie was still daydreaming, but she immediately told Ilya to come in. Ilya asked, "Did you sleep well last night?" Then Yuffie reasoned that she slept soundly and comfortably here, even though those who watch this anime know that Yuffie is lying to Ilya. After that, Yuffie would have breakfast as usual, and she said she was used to living here. Transferring her belongings from the palace to Annie's villa also went smoothly. Yuffie was grateful to be able to live here because Yuffie didn't become the subject of talk about the false accusations that Alvard stated at that time. Then Ilya said that there was a call from orphans this afternoon, so Yuffie had to go to the palace to face orphans. Then Yuffie thanked Ilya for serving her well every day. She also asked Ilya to accompany her to the palace later. After breakfast, Yuffie asked Ilya about Anna's because she had not seen Anna's since this morning. Ilya said Anna's was sneaking out with her flying broom when the sun rose. Not long after, the villa's alarm suddenly sounded very loud, and Yuffie was confused by this situation. There was even the sound of a huge explosion coming from outside the villa. Ilya said that Yuffie doesn't need to worry because this sound is Anna's trial alarm when an intruder enters secretly. When Ilya turned off the villa's alarm, it turned out that the previous big explosion had come from Anna's. She just landed very hard using her flying broom.
おはようユフィ、朝食は済んだ。そしたら実験付き合ってよ。テレレッテマナブレイド。ほらほら、試してみて。
Yuffie was confused about how to use this. Then Anna said that Yuffie only needed to channel magic into that tool. When Yuffie managed to try it, she was amazed because Anna's mana blade was very simple to use. Then Anna's explained the use of magic tools, weaknesses, flaws, and whatever was on her mind quickly, like a rapper. But Yuffie didn't listen to Anna's because her mind was too focused on Anna's mana blade. According to Yuffie, this tool has high resistance and is suitable for magical combat. How to use this tool is also almost like a magic wand. Suddenly, Anna's surprised Yuffie because she shouted that what Yuffie said was true. Anna's was proud because Yuffie understood how this magic tool worked.
顔がいい、頭がいい、性格がいい。
Next, Anna's told Yuffie to try the flying broom. Of course, Yuffie was surprised and remembered when Anna's suddenly took her away from the party that time. But Anna's still forced Yuffie to try it first, and Anna's promised to guide Yuffie while using this flying broom. Even though Anna's said like that, Yuffie still panicked because this broom seemed unstable in strength. Because of that, Yuffie begged Anna's to continuously ride the flying broom behind her. Anna's promised because the royal family would never lie, but the truth turned out like this.
絶対絶対、約束約束、王族嘘つかない。ごめんね。マジで実証済みだから平気だと思ったんだよ。大丈夫、ごめんね、今のは事故なんだよ。本当だよ。
Suddenly, Yuffie's demeanor changed to how it was before. Though she had just been having fun and smiling, Yuffie apologized to Anna's because she didn't deserve to act like that in front of Anna's. Yuffie was a noble, and Anna's was a royal princess. Yuffie thought that her previous attitude was an act of disrespect. Then Anna said that she did not mind it. Anna intends to make Yuffie enjoy her days here more by playing like this. Yuffie also doesn't need to be formal and doesn't think about their current status or position. After hearing that, Yuffie smiled, and Anna's was even more confused about responding to Yuffie. Before long, Ilya came to dress Yuffie again because soon they would go to the palace to meet orphans. While Ilya was dressing the beautiful Yuffie, Yuffie asked, "Has Anna's always been like that since she was little?" Ilya replied that Anna's was now able to be gentler. Since childhood, Anna's has always been a troublemaker, and her attitude is too brutal to make it difficult for Ilya to take care of her every day. But Ilya was not angry or annoyed with Anna's because she was used to Anna's behavior like that. Ilya told Yuffie to express her dislike to Anna's if she was bothered by Anna's attitude. Then Yuffie said that she didn't feel disturbed by Anna's. It's not like or dislike, but Yuffie feels that Anna's is a figure that is very far to reach and different from Yuffie. At the palace, orphans are dizzy from the actions taken by Algard. Earlier, there had been an opinion session held at the palace, but all the contents of the statement only repeated the same stories and events as at the party. Algard even said that he would choose his own path in life and had no intention of getting engaged as arranged by his parents. According to orphans, it's the natural choice for Algard because he was still young, but this engagement would determine the fate of the royal family of Paletia. The responsibilities that must be carried out are many. Some of the people at the opinion session earlier also agreed with the words of Algard. Grants could not argue because he was outnumbered, and they were already affected by the false accusations. Even the director of the Ministry of Magic, Count, was a very annoying person. He wanted to protect his son, Moritz, to keep Yuffie's false accusations going. Grants says that the Count is the leader of the conservative faction. Grants had already been labeled Count's enemy because Grants was on the side of the reform faction. Not long after, Yuffie and Ilya came to Orphan's room to report on Yuffie's relationship with Algard. After Yuffie explained it to Orphans concluded that Lane Lee had no problems with Yuffie. She had only followed the path of Algard alone, but this was still a strange thing. Then Orphans asked Yuffie about anything at the party that night that could be a clue to solving this problem. Orphans also apologized because he told Yuffie to remember the bad incident. Then Yuffie didn't mind that. She said that everyone at the party at that time really upheld justice. No one suspected any of Algard's false accusations. Yuffie also understood that Algard had no ill will towards Yuffie that night. The main problem is that everyone and the government adhere to justice and their beliefs. It doesn't matter if it's a false accusation or true. Orphans concluded that everyone at the party had been blinded by justice to the point where they couldn't tell which statements were true and which were false. Then Orphans will check and look for something odd about this conflict. He would let Yuffie know if he had any other news. Then Yuffie immediately returned the key royal library to Orphans. Orphans were surprised that Yuffie did this. She could have kept it if she wanted. Orphans also apologized while bowing his head to Yuffie for letting her struggle down so far. Then Yuffie said that Orphans didn't need to apologize like that. After all, she no longer had that right because there was nothing Yuffie had to do anymore. Algard also never had feelings of love for Yuffie, so Yuffie's heart would not be hurt by Algard's treatment at that time. Grant said that Yuffie had worked hard all this time, so she didn't need to do anything more. Then Yuffie would say goodbye to the maids in the palace, who had been taking care of her needs here. After Yuffie and Ilya left, Orphans said Grants was too harsh to Yuffie. He should have been able to choose words other than the ones he had spoken earlier.
そうか、父親というのは難しいな。
ユフィリア様。世話になりましたね。みんな息災ですか？
Yuffie greeted all the maids there, and one of the maids was surprised after seeing Yuffie. I call her Lisa. Lisa could pick up Yuffie if Yuffie contacted her this morning. Yuffie said she didn't want to trouble Lisa and the other maids. Lisa worries about Yuffie's mental state because this incident has damaged her reputation. But Yuffie said she was fine and often rested at Anna's villa. They were silent for a moment and Yuffie showed a sad face. Then Lisa tried to comfort Yuffie again by saying that Yuffie's posture never changed, even though she often eats at Anna's villa. Suddenly, Ilya also said that Yuffie was indeed different from Anna's. Anna's is very brutal, eats snacks, and wears random clothes. Her clothes are also often damaged, and Ilya has to sew them many times. Anna's hates wearing dresses, bustiers, and corsets. She always lived life according to her heart's desire. Because of that, Ilya wanted Yuffie not to think about formal matters like this anymore. Yuffie's life is no longer restrained by future rules that she must always learn.
何もありません。
Maybe those who don't feel what Yuffie feels will find it difficult to understand this. The point is that Yuffie's heart feels empty because there is no target or purpose in life anymore. She felt she couldn't do anything anymore as she was only striving hard to become the perfect future queen. A few days later, after Yuffie finished breakfast, Anna's arrived in a hurry and excited. Of course, Yuffie was surprised because Anna's face looked pale like that. Anna said she had only slept 2 or 1 hour for days, or maybe she didn't sleep because she forgot about it. The most important thing is that Yuffie's special magic tool has been completed by Anna's.
するのを補助、それから普通に魔法を使うのも補助できる贅沢品。けど実際の魔力伝導率は試してみないとかな。方針は精霊石を練り混ぜた合金で魔力胴体に。早速、姫様、
その前にまずお着替えを。
After Anna's changed her clothes, she told Yuffie to try to cast magic toward the tree there. Anna's also told Yuffie to use all the magic elements in the sword.
ウォーターブレイド、なんというか面白いですね。ユフィの魔法綺麗。やっぱり。
After Yuffie finished testing her magic sword, they rested on a large tree there. Yuffie thanked Anna's for trying hard to make this magic tool. This is the best than other magic tools created by Anna's. Then Anna's said she enjoyed making magic tools, especially those suitable for Yuffie. Anna's had thought of a good name for this sword, Reincarnated. It means rainbow, because there are many colors and magic attributes inside Yuffie's sword. After hearing that, Yuffie fell silent for a moment as if she was holding back her feelings. Then Yuffie thanked Anna's again, and the name of this magic sword was so beautiful. Anna's understood Yuffie's reaction, and said she was grateful because Yuffie liked that name.
ずるいくらい。あなたが羨ましいです、兄様。私もほんのひとかけらでもこの人のようになれたら。
A few hours later, Anna's woke up, and she felt much fresher than before. Anna's apologized and thanked Yuffie because she suddenly fell asleep on Yuffie's lap. Then Anna's saw Yuffie's face, which looked different from usual. They were silent for a moment, and Ilya came there to warn Anna's that sleeping outside was not good for the body's health. Anna's reasoned that sleeping on Yuffie's lap was very comfortable, so she kept sleeping here. Ilya said Anna's is too open about her feelings for the person she likes. Then they joked around as usual, and Yuffie became confused about her feelings. Suddenly Yuffie's heart pounded, and Anna's also got closer to Yuffie's face, which made Yuffie's heart beat even faster. Then Anna's concluded that Yuffie had a fever due to fatigue from holding Anna's on her lap. Anna's told Yuffie to rest today. Anna's also apologized because what she did earlier made Yuffie sick now. Yuffie said that she was fine, but Anna's doesn't believe it because Yuffie isn't honest with her feelings. So she will get the medicine as soon as possible, and Yuffie must rest completely, when Yuffie just wanted to sleep.
お待たせ、ユフィ。早かったですね。お手を煩わせて申し訳ありません。いいよいいよ。偉い偉い。子供じゃないんですから。
After Yuffie drank the medicine that was too bitter, Anna's told Yuffie to sleep now. Anna's apologized because she didn't pay attention to Yuffie's health. She was too focused on making Reincarnated. But it was a great accomplishment for Anna's because she could make magic tools as perfect as that. Then Anna's illness recurred, always talked about magic tools with the usual enthusiasm. In Yuffie's mind, she thought that Anna's was like a beautiful bird that could fly anywhere. Meanwhile, Yuffie was like a bird that had fallen injured and couldn't fly high anymore. Yuffie's heart was empty. Then Anna's approached Yuffie because she saw Yuffie who was daydreaming. They were silent for a moment, and then Yuffie said she was jealous of Anna's. Yuffie has nothing left, unlike Anna's. Yuffie asked, "What should I do after all this happened?" Anna's replied that Yuffie should do what she wants. But Yuffie said that she didn't know what to do anymore. She wanted Anna's to order her anything now, because Anna's was the princess in the kingdom of Palethia. Yuffie can do whatever Anna's tells her to do. After hearing that, Anna's said that Yuffie would find it later. Anna's will seek Yuffie's wish together. Yuffie is a clumsy girl and is not honest with her own feelings. She was used to being ordered around and chasing targets to fulfill someone's wish. Because of that, Anna's will try to free her from that problem. With Yuffie's smile and laughter here, Anna's could feel happy when she saw Yuffie. The most important thing now is that Yuffie must recover first.
兄様の体温、気持ちいい。いえ、大丈夫です。苦しくなるほどのこのぬくもりを手放せそうにありません。あなたは眩しすぎて、兄様、風邪ひきますよ。
At night, Terry and his friend were running in the forest. They had to immediately report to the Adventurers Guild because a danger threatened the town. The Palethia Kingdom could also be destroyed by this top-tier monster. On the other hand, Count encountered Algard, who was held in a special place. Count says he has a good plan to free Algard from this place. This is the best chance because the city's current situation is in chaos. Yuffie's body condition had improved today. She also accidentally saw Anna's practicing in the villa's courtyard. Not long after, Ilya approached Yuffie and said that Anna's had her own way of fighting. At first, she did train like a knight in the kingdom, but her fighting skills were mostly obtained from real battles. Yuffie was confused after hearing the information from Ilya. Then Ilya asked about Yuffie's health today. She also suspected that Yuffie thought a lot about the things that had happened while adapting to this new environment. Yuffie said she was fine and thanked Ilya and Anna's for taking care of her. When Ilya wanted to go to the clothesline, Yuffie suddenly wanted to come with her. But sadly, Yuffie couldn't do anything spontaneously yet. In Yuffie's mind, she wanted to help Ilya dry these clothes, but she didn't get any orders from Ilya.
図星という顔ですね。
Ilya understands that Yuffie can't do anything on her own yet. Then Yuffie started to tell Ilya about herself. She also felt that Ilya and Anna's relationship was a bit strange. Yuffie had never seen anyone else close like that. Ilya said that Anna's doesn't like to be respected, so Ilya doesn't use formal and polite sentences every time she talks to Anna's. Ilya used to be a clumsy person too, always obey any orders from others. Even Ilya obeyed her parents' orders, who wanted to marry Ilya to a rich old man. She also rarely spoke to other people or her own parents. However, Ilya's way of life was destroyed by Anna's, who had a brutal and strange nature. Because of that, Ilya disobeys her parents' orders like this.
ざまあ見ろという気持ちでいっぱいですね。
Ilya couldn't ignore Yuffie because she was like Ilya's reflection when she wasn't with Anna's. According to Ilya, Yuffie is a girl who understands other people, so she definitely won't be bothered by Anna's character like Ilya used to be. Yuffie can be worried, anxious, sad, or whatever she does. Anna's will always be there for Yuffie and continue to fill Yuffie's daily life. If something was too late or something happened, Anna's definitely said she would be held responsible for what she did. Such is the character of Anna's, who always treats Ilya to this point of freedom. After hearing that, Yuffie thanked her once more, and she felt that she was grateful to be able to live in this villa. Before long, Anna's came in panting because of the emergency situation she had just received from the Adventurers Guild. Anna's immediately prepared herself in her research laboratory, but Yuffie was confused. Why could Anna's get the news from the Adventurers Guild? Then Anna's replied that she was the top-rank adventurer in this city. Anna's said she became an adventurer because she wanted materials from monsters, especially magic stones for research purposes. Better to find it directly than to buy it from the city. Then Anna's said that there was an emergency situation that threatened this city and the kingdom. Hordes of monsters will attack other monsters, and this situation is known as a stampede. Yuffie was surprised because this stampede was a struggle between monster territories. The losing side will seek new territory, which will negatively impact the villages, towns, and kingdoms. Anna's said that according to the report she got, there was an unexpected incident last night. A powerful dragon suddenly appeared, making the monster horde flee their territory. Because of that, Anna's must immediately go to where the dragon is to kill it. Anna's wanted to get a powerful magic stone, and this opportunity she would not get again. Yuffie was surprised. Why did Anna's want to look for magic stones to endanger her own life? Anna's replied that she wanted to do whatever she wanted herself. After hearing this, Yuffie decided to go with Anna's to fight the dragon.
どうしても行かれるというのでしたら、私を連れて行ってください。一人きりでどこまでも飛んでいける人なんだ。そうだ。この方は。え？
At the palace, orphans and other royal officials reported on the situation, defenses, and what had been done to counter the stampede incident. But they couldn't deal with the dragon that had suddenly appeared in the forest, because this was the first time a dragon had appeared there. Before long, Alvard came to meet orphans because he wanted to participate in defeating the dragon. If Alvard could slay the dragon, he would be entitled to receive a reward for his marriage to Lanely. For the sake of that gift, Alvard would do something for the dragon and was ready to risk his life. Alvard also said he had heard many other people's opinions about Annis. Had Annis been a boy with a natural talent for magic, she would have received the royal throne. Orphans were surprised because he saw Alvard's gaze, which seemed to be affected by the darkness of the heart. In Orphan's mind, Annis and Alvard were very close and played every day when they were little. But when Annis decided to study and do her research, their relationship strained, and they barely spoke as much as they used to. Since then, orphans realized that Annis threw away her right to inherit the royal throne and acted like a fool for the sake of her beloved brother. Annis deliberately made herself unfit to accept the royal throne. But sadly, more and more people always looked down on Algard and compared him to Annis. Algard didn't have the talent of a king in this kingdom. Instead, the more suitable one was Annis. Because of that, orphans accepted Algard's request to participate in fighting the dragon. But suddenly, the situation became chaotic because of other problems.
殿下がユフィリア様と共にトトロ目撃情報があのバカ娘が